All right. Well, we will wait a few more minutes. Welcome to the world of technical glitches. So we'll wait a second here as people pile back in. Unfortunately, when I was trying to broadcast, it decided that it no longer wanted to connect with Facebook. And I'm not sure if it was Facebook who kicked it off or whether it was my Express Entry whether it was my Ecamm Live software, but my apologies for everyone. I was so rudely interrupted when I was explaining why it was so crazy for people to not trust in hiring a representative. And all of the comments that people previously posted have disappeared. So we'll continue on for a little bit longer. My apologies for getting disconnected, you guys. There was just a problem. I guess, Igor, maybe we shouldn't schedule these. This is the first time that a scheduled live Q&A actually, well, the first time I've done one of those, and then the link broke and it just shut off. So I apologize. My apologies. So Adonia says, hey, okay. All right. So what I want you to do is, I can see Feroz is here. I want you guys to repost your questions again, and I'll get back to answering them. Okay. So yeah, my apologies. Those of you who are maybe watching for the first time, this is part 2 because part 1 was rudely interrupted. And so it looks like everybody's jumping on, and Ralph says is a Mac problem. Well, I think it's probably a Mac problem. It's probably the interaction with Facebook, who doesn't like a third-party video software system who integrates with Facebook. That's where the disconnect happened. So my sincerest apologies. It looks like a bunch of people, new people, are actually tuning in too. So this is, for those of you who are watching for the first time, this is actually, it's a place called, and we'll close this here. It's a place called Mont Saint-Michel in France. Pretty cool, huh? So imagine this castle, and apparently the water recedes at least one time during the year where you can actually walk across on dry ground. Okay, so those of you who are tuning in, my apologies. This is round 2, and we have about 7 minutes left before I'm going to have to close it off. So I was getting through a bunch of questions, and then the feed just disconnected. So my sincerest apologies. So post in the comments below your question, and then we'll start to go back through this. So I apologize those who posted questions before, and they're all gone, so I don't have them anymore. Okay, so let's start with... Okay, Maureen says, hello, Mark. Medical request last stage for PNP paper-based application. Is that right? No. You could have other things going on. Obviously, the last stage, yes, medical is a part of it, and that's important. But they could, well, the reality is they still have the ability to request anything, even after the medical. If they have further information or questions that they want to ask, yes, the medical is nearing the end, but there's security screening as well. And some people have to still pay the processing fee. There's the passport request that still comes through, obviously, but the medical is near the end. It usually is, yes. And the reason is because it's so long to process, they don't ask you to actually go out and get the immigration medical until it's nearing the end of the application. Okay, Christina says, what is the best law school in Canada? Do they accept international students? Christina, the best law school in Canada is the University of Manitoba, Faculty of Law at Robson Hall, where I obtained my law degree. Now, maybe other people may have other thoughts, but any of the law schools in Canada are all good schools. And so it doesn't really matter. And do they accept international students? Well, the reality is there are some international students that do come and attend a little bit, like they basically audit some classes. But the reality is, to get admitted to the Faculty of Law, each of the schools is a little bit different, but usually they accept students that have the ability to then transition and become lawyers. And all of that requires pretty much that you are a permanent resident of Canada. Now, there may be programs that are different, but that's about all I can share at this stage. Okay, Sunil says, will undergraduate certificate 1 year and bachelor's degree 4 years count as 2 or more credentials? If West says it does, or if one of the other educational credential agencies says it does. Okay, so it says, I'm asking because these days, West and CES are giving equivalency of 1 year undergrad certificate, but these are not listed on IRCC ECA outcome details. Will application be refused for claiming undergraduate certificate 1 year? Okay, this is a little bit confusing, but if you've got a 4-year degree and they assess that as a 4-year degree, and you have any other credential that they accept as an undergraduate certificate, it will almost always grant you 2 years, unless the credential only comes up as 1 credential. But it's whatever the Educational Credential Assessment Agency, whatever they come up with. Okay, Camilla says, I'm looking for help with study visa and taking my spouse. Okay, Camilla, would you really appreciate your help and expert advice? Well, Camilla, you need to go and book a consultation. That's where you go. And I think I was in the process of trying to share that with everyone when I was so rudely interrupted. And I think it was here. So if I share this little screen here, this on my website, and we can actually put this in, I'm sure Igor could do it too, but I'll just post it in the comments. You can go here now to fill out my little drop-down menus, which allow you to choose the options to get where you want to be. So temporary, or you can choose permanent. It doesn't matter. You select your option, foreign worker, and then it gives you this questionnaire that you can fill out, and that will start the process to book a consult with us. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Next on the list is lazy boys. Okay, that's kind of a freaky picture, lazy boys. Yeah, I'd recommend you update your profile picture there, lazy boys. Does Francophone program need a TF exam when you submit your application? In almost all cases, I will always get it because there's no question about it. I include it. Does it require it for all of them? Well, you might be able to get by if you're from France and you were born and raised in France and you speak French as your only language. Well, I guess it's not your only language, but you can, you might be able to get by, but I always include it. Okay, Bernard. Hey, Mark, how many days should a PR spend in Canada before being able to apply for the Canadian passport? Is it 1,000 days? Bernard, the rules are 3 and 5. So you need to show that you've been physically present in Canada for 3 years as a permanent resident in every 5-year period before you're eligible to submit an application for citizenship. But if you were here as a temporary resident working and studying in Canada before you became a permanent resident, then you can count for every day spent as a temporary resident, half of those days towards that 3-year period. So technically speaking, if you've never left Canada ever, after you were in Canada for 2 years before you became a permanent resident, you could count one of those years spent before becoming a permanent resident and add it to the 2 years after you become a permanent resident to make 3 years within 5 years to be eligible for citizenship. Okay, Adil says, what is the chances for electronics engineer with 360 CRS score? Extremely low. That's all I can say, Adil. Extremely low. The likelihood is probably not possible at all, but you just never know. Maybe Alberta or one of those other provinces decides to do a big scoop that scoops down to 360. It's possible, but probable, if you're asking for that, chances, balance of possibility. You ask, is it possible? Anything is possible, but probable, very unlikely. Okay, let's see here. Moulin says, thanks for your answer, Mark. Father name spelling mistake made by the bank on the proof of funds. Is that make a negative impact on the application? It just depends on the level of error. If they actually put the wrong name, well, that could be an issue. But typically little typos of a single letter or something are not always a big deal. And Pauline, if you are from India or Pakistan, oh my goodness, I've never seen so many errors in documents with names and everything as I have from those 2 countries. Okay, Sunil says, and I think I'm going to end, let's see here. I'm going to end right now at Sunil. It says undergraduate certificate, 1 year is not listed in the possible outcome in the IRCC website. Undergrad certificate, 1 year is not listed. Okay, well, what does the ECA tell you? That's what I look at. So what does your educational credential assessment say? And then we go from here. Okay, all right. So that I'm going to have to end there. It's 1 o'clock right now. Thanks everybody for jumping back on after we rudely had to, well, after we got canceled so rudely at the end. But I appreciate all of you tuning in. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, if you see a bike like this in your country, if you see a bike like this, someone driving around on a bike like this in your country, understand that it came from Canada and that it's Mark Holthy's bike, and he's really, really sad to see it go. So, yes, someone stole my bike, and we'll probably end with that. All right, guys, it's an absolute pleasure once again to be here with you on the Express Entry Live Q&A. Make sure that you go and check out my website right here, brand new. Check it out. You can see all of the cool people that are involved. It's constantly being built out. Within the website, we have our resource section, which makes it easy for you to find all of the different resources that we have. Like, if we click on this link, like the Canadian Immigration Institute, which is where my Express Entry DIY course is found. I have to change it. It shouldn't be a guide, because apparently you guys think it's just some written kind of a instruction that people throw out on our Express Entry Law site all the time. And for those of you who are tuning in and staying to the bitter end, if you click on Purchase Guide, and regular for this one-time access, it's $497. If you type in EE DIY 50 and click Apply, you can get access for half price at $248.50 US. And this guide is chock full. Once again, I'm saying guide. This course is chock full of everything you could possibly want to help you navigate the whole Express Entry process safely. And just as we're wrapping up, for those of you who have never seen it, I'll just pop in really quick. It's created through a series of 44 individual courses that break down every module. What is Express Entry? Preparing to submit your profile. And then module 3 is all about, each lesson it's all triggered to and linked to every section of the profile. So it walks you through, helps you to understand exactly how everything is structured. And then there's a section for completing your EAPR, which is that whole side, which took me forever, because basically because I used a client who gave me permission, and I redacted everything so that I could use it as an example and show you how to answer the EAPR. And within that whole EAPR, the most important part that I personally means the most to me is module 5, which is all about the document checklist, where I have a ton of sample documents all available here on the right, as you can see, that relate to everything from gift deeds, sample employment letters, everything you can imagine. All right. And so that you can see and make sure that you're all on the right track. And I know I'm kind of rushing through this, but my time is totally up. And then the last section, which is the coolest of all, and this is for people who say, oh, Mark, all that information doesn't cover the specifics. It doesn't really drill down into any area. Well, that's because they're all here. So, and anytime someone says, oh, the course wasn't useful for me, I know they never really looked at it, and I just give them their money back, because that's how it works. But when it comes to, there's a 30-day complete money back guarantee that I've 100% honored since the beginning of when the course was created. But this, you can see, is the whole member resource section that covers specific topics, and I drill down deep into them, deeper than I could ever do in the general section, because not everybody needs to have that deep information. So general info, work experience, language. I'm just zipping through this. Express Entry eligibility, job offers, proof of funds, police clearances, dependent family, non-accompanying spouses, education, medicals. Is there anything that's missing? I don't know. Other names, relatives, dependent children, spousal relationships, PNP programs, refusals. All right. Okay. I've spent enough time chatting. So if you want to access this, then all you need to do is type in that code, and you can get access right now that I'm sharing. And I only share with individuals who actually sit and watch all the way through to the end. Purchase the guide, click on right here, purchase guide, and type in the code EE DIY50, click apply, and you get 50% off. So you're saving like $250 US. You're getting it for $248.50. All right. So there you go, guys. I hope this EE Live Q&A was helpful for you today. Those of you who I was not able to get to your questions, I'm sorry I wasn't able to do that. But thanks so much for your participation. It's because of all of you guys that this is so awesome. Great questions. Remember, if you have one that you want to share, that you want me to consider, just don't forget to put right here, send an email to info@holthylaw.com, put EE Live Q&A in the subject line, and Mauricia will see if it makes the cut. All right, take care, guys. See you later.